Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Barbara, would you please call the roll?
We have Commissioner Sales, Moss, Noonan, and Parkwright present.
This proceeding, as always, will be broadcast on Channel 35. We're going to take an item out of order, if that's okay with everyone. I'd like, let's call item 11, please. Mr. President? Mr. CEO. I guess I'm talking to myself. Mr. CEO. I do that a lot.
I didn't know I'd been promoted. We would like to have,
Actually, we can swap salaries if that's okay.
No,
you consider it a promotion.
Okay.
So.
Okay. We'll talk.
Okay.
We have Shannon Pasquale and Susana Reyes here. I wanted to bring to the board's attention some really excellent work that our workers' compensation group within Human Resources has done. And I'd like to turn it over to Shannon and Susana to give some recognition to a really hard-working group that's done very well in a tough working environment that we deal with in workers' comp.
Thank you very much. Shannon Pasquale, Susana Reyes here. I wanted to say a few words real quickly before we get into the actual recognition by this board of these employees. And first and foremost, this whole effort was a team effort. It's not just workers' compensation that you're going to be recognizing today. There's groups within FSO, the City Attorney's Office, the City Controller's Office, and our retirement division as well. And this was a really great example of how when we put our efforts together and we put the silos apart for a second, how well we do in that environment. And these group of employees did a phenomenal job. You may recall several months ago that I came before you and I kind of talked to you a little bit about some of the challenges that we saw with the state audit coming. We kind of talked a little bit about the state's budget situation and how aggressive we knew they were going to be in trying to pursue as much from us as possible. We kind of talked a little bit about the fact that when the city was last audited in 2009, they were fined up to close to $500,000 by the state based on their audit results. And we talked a lot about what our concerns were going forward in terms of the potential financial concerns that we had in terms of penalties and fines that would be assessed based on a number of factors. And so I'm here today not only to recognize the employees, but to tell you as the board and Mr. Nichols as well, that these employees worked very hard. They worked long hours, both before, during, and after the audit. And as a result of their work and their efforts, not only did we pass the audit, but the state was here for a full 3 months on the 5th floor. And they walked away after 3 months with not even a penny from this department. So I'd like to turn it over to Susana so that she has the honor of recognizing the employees. We're going to do it as a group, not as individuals. But again, I want everyone to understand that these people did a really terrific job, and they really need to be recognized for everything they've done on behalf of the department and on behalf of the City of Los Angeles.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Board of Commissioners and General Manager and our AGM's executive team. I'm Susana Reyes, and I'm very proud to tell you that we passed. Yay! Hello! We did, no penalties. And so I'm here to basically let you know that the assistance provided by the workers' comp team and the other groups who helped us really had a significant impact on our existing ability to self-administer the workers' comp program here for DWP and comply with those prescribed rules and regulations. The successful team effort demonstrated the collaborative spirit amongst these groups, and I will be calling on them as a group and who their respective managers are. And they really went above and beyond the call of duty. And ultimately, we achieved a particularly difficult goal, that of passing the state audit that is only done every 5 years. So to start with, I'd like the proud team of Workers' Comp to please stand up and be recognized. Thank you. Now I'd like to ask the team represented by our accounting folks. Very important because they're the ones who process our checks for the temporary disability, our supplementals. I'd like to, they're headed by Andrew Versey, who is attending another meeting, but he's proudly represented by Antricia Sims and Erlene Townsend. Can you please stand up? Thank you very much. Now I'd like to call on Sangeeta Bhatia and Monette Carancea, representing the Disability Office of our retirement. Without their help, we would not be able to justify the supplemental industrial disability portion that is being done through our Office of Disability. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to call on the representatives from the City Controller, if they're here. Okay, we have the representative from the City Controller. They helped us with a lot of copying of checks that were required by the auditors, numerous days that we sent our staff, and they helped us, lent us their system in order for us to make that task possible within the timelines. Thank you so much, City Controller. Represented by Nicitas Florendo. Lastly, I'd like to call on the City Attorney. Thank you, Richard Brown. Thank you, Joe. And thank you, Aurora Timball. Please stand up. Aurora led the way for the rebuttals that we had to do in response to the queries and the questions, the tough questions that the auditors posed. So thank you, Aurora, for your expertise in dealing with the legal part of it. And thank you, City Attorney, for allowing us to have Aurora on our team.
Just real quickly, and I do want to extend my thanks to Richard and to Joe specifically because, so you know, Aurora doesn't work for the Department of Water and Power. She's assigned to LAWA right now. And so Rich and Joe, either through their charm or their powers of persuasion, were able to actually have Aurora
It was charm.
here.
It was charm.
And Aurora was really what made the difference for us. She was our closer. She came in, she negotiated hard with the state, and she was one of the main reasons why we came away with a passing score. So, again, thank you, Rich, and thank you, Joe, for having Aurora here. Okay.
And lastly, I just want to let the board know that we did receive a certificate of recognition for the workers' comp group from our LA City Controller, Wendy Gruhl, and it reads, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, congratulations on exceeding the state audit performance standard at the PAR level, achieving a passing UR score, and saving over $500,000 for the department. We celebrate and thank you for this remarkable achievement and your dedication and commitment to the City of Los Angeles. Wendy Gruhl, City Controller. Thank you.
Well, on behalf of our board and the entire city, we would like to thank the entire team. It is absolutely spectacular that you can be audited for 3 months, an on-site audit, and come back with no violations, no penalties. That's extraordinary work, and thank you so much for your work for the entire team. Do I need a motion on
Yes,
that?
we need to vote for
Is there a
that.
motion to approve the resolution?
There is.
Is there a second?
Proudly second.
Probably. Hearing no objection, the motion passes. Thank you, and once again, congratulations. I think we have a bit more in the general manager's report.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Now get back to work.
I did just want to note.
Wait a second, Ron.
Sure. We'll look it up.
Did we let the state auditors go out for dinner or something?
Rich took them.
Mr. General Manager?
Thank you. There's just one item I wanted to note on my report, and that is we've had a few discussions over the last few months regarding our solar incentive program, which is our solar rebates for net metered solar by our customers, and just wanted to make you aware that our demand for the incentive program and the applications is still strong. It's down now to about 60 per week. We were at over 100, sometimes over almost 140 applications per week, which is not unusual in terms of the nature, the timing. They tend to come during the summer months. But it was building up because of that, despite the fact you recall that about a year ago we reduced the incentive payment, the rebate payment level, in recognition of the falling prices in solar to get back in line with that. Despite having done that, we still have a very brisk market for it. That is coming down now to a level of about 60 per week. It should hopefully fall down a little bit slower. I say hopefully from the perspective it's just a matter of catch-up. But we have cut in half our backlog of those applications. Still higher than we would like it to be, but we're working down on it. And with these levels right now, with the applications level being down a bit from where they were, we should be able to work even further down on that backlog and get down to a comfortable level where we want to be. But the program's going along well, and we're doing everything we can to make certain we're being responsive to our customers on that. That's all my only thing for the report today.
Thank you.
Mr. President, can I ask a couple of questions on this topic?
Of course.
I just anecdotally, so I don't put a whole lot of stake in it, but I was talking with someone who had applied for the program, and they had voiced some concerns about the time line it was taking in terms of coordination with DWP and Building and Safety. The problem really wasn't with DWP as far as this particular reporter was telling me, but it was with getting Building and Safety to sign off on things so that DWP could come out and flip the switch. Have you had any concerns or any issues regarding that coordination with the different city agencies?
We generally haven't. In fact, Aram Power System has done a good job in establishing coordinated efforts on that. We occasionally incur some circumstances. I don't know the specific circumstances in this case, but often you get a matter where you have the customer, and then the customer has a contractor, and sometimes the contractor isn't quite doing what he's allegedly doing, just put it that way. And so sometimes we get some miscommunications between contractor and customer, or between the customer and ourselves on this. I don't know the specific instance. I don't know if you want to provide a little more color on that.
No, that's about accurate. We do have a very close working relationship with the inspectors and Building and Safety. We make sure that our instructions to the contractor are not contradictory, and we kind of coordinate the requirements. So we try to do that. Unfortunately, there are issues of communications and other circumstances that we might have some of these projects kind of go sideways, but we try to get to them and try to repair it.
Okay, so you've been generally happy with the response?
We have been. One of the situations at times that you find is that an application will come in for a certain size. Say it's a 5 kilowatt system or a 3 kilowatt system on a residential roof, or something larger on a commercial roof. And then during the course of it, they determine when they're doing their final engineering that, I can actually fit a few more panels. Things change, configurations change, and situations. And sometimes when there's a difference between what's planned versus what was applied for originally, you get some iterations, and that has happened a few times, and that can drag things out. I don't know what the specific circumstances were here, but that's one of the more typical things that tends to make it longer than one would think it would need to be.
Oh, thank you.
We've done things like notifying, while we talk with the contractors, we notify the owners also, so they have the same information as we're telling the contractors. So they kind of resolved a lot of the issues because of the communication between the three parties.
Good.
The backlog, in some respects, is that we're a victim of our own success, that it's a very popular program.
It is indeed a popular program. That's correct.
Other questions for the General Manager? Thank you. We're at public comment. I think we have one speaker card.
Yes. The speaker is Linda Romney for item number 4.
Good afternoon. I would like to address notice, particularly pertaining to the electric increase. As you know, the ratepayers received a document mailed to all ratepayers from the Department of Water and Power notifying them of the city council vote on August 22nd. However, thank God that we did not have the water increase, but instead, while it was look over here, it was over here in our pocket for the electric. The fact of the matter is that on the OPA website, the consultant's report did not even go up until August 27th. And the hearing, voting on the electric, was on September 25th. That's less than 30 days. As far as the alleged outreach on the meetings, as you know, the attendance was normally 0, and in some cases as many as 6. And your neighborhood councils were not consulted, and the matter was not brought up to their attention. Furthermore, I'd like to object to the fact that it was presented to us, the ratepayers, as if this was an urgent matter based on the fact that these mandates were in effect, and if the mandates, which are addressed in page 3 of the consultant's 143 page, that there would be penalties. The fact of the matter is that that third page does not address any penalties whatsoever. So what we heard as ratepayers was this was an emergency. Hurry, hurry, hurry. And it certainly was on fast track. The fact is that we have rate increases coming to us at a time when people are unemployed, when they're losing their homes, and they have another bill sent to us on a monthly basis that is equivalent to a mortgage payment or beyond at this particular time. Your ratepayers are up in arms. Thank you.
Thank you. Operations matters, request from commissioners, item 3.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've volunteered my time with an organization called Ciclavia since for the last 4 years. And with the City of LA, we have been able to put on these closed street events for 4 times now, and the 5th one's coming up this Sunday morning. And so I just want whoever's listening, if they choose to participate, it's one of the great events in Los Angeles where the communities come out and get to share Los Angeles in a unique way. So it's simply an announcement, and I'm very proud to be associated with this event.
Other comments or requests relating to operations?
Yeah, just one quick question. I know the city controller has just issued an audit on construction management, and I was just wondering when we would anticipate receiving a presentation to the board relative to the audit.
Commissioner Marash, we are formulating our formal response to that audit, and we expect to have that completed towards the end of this month. So if it suits the board, we could report back subsequently.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Thank you. Commissioner Noonan? No. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing no objection, the item passes. On the other items that we'd like to pull from the consent agenda, that's items 6 through 10. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Items 6 through 10?
So, item 9, I think we're going to defer.
Is there a motion to defer item 9?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing no objection, item 9 is deferred. Items 6, 7, 8, and 10. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing no objection, those items are approved. Item 11. Item 12. Mr. Aram?
In follow-up to our presentation last time, Commissioners, we have a presentation to kind of go into the details of these 2 large power purchase agreements that we've talked about, the solar projects. So I have Mike Webster and Randy Krager here to present.
And we do have one speaker card, right, Barbara?
Yes.
Please.
Okay. My name is Michael Webster. I'm Assistant Director of Power System Planning and Development. And to my left is Randy Krager, who is our manager of our large-scale solar and wind development projects and was the lead negotiator on the projects that we're going to bring before you today for consideration. And so what I wanted to do is just briefly is go back and make sure all the commissioners have the opportunity to hear some, sort of the same history that got us to this point today. The contracts we bring to you today started in 2009 in a very, very deliberate process. It started with the development of the 2010 Integrated Resource Plan, which really laid out all of our resource requirements to meet state laws, our reliability, renewables, once-through cooling. And so in that document, we laid out a series of strategies for selecting renewables. One of those strategies was geographic diversity was critically important for the reliability of the system. And what we mean by geographic diversity would be to spread our renewables out using our vast transmission. So if it's windy in the Columbia River Gorge, it may not be windy in Tehachapi, or vice versa. So we have wind in Columbia River Gorge, we have wind Tehachapis, we have wind in Milford Valley. And it applies to solar as well. When we think about solar, we want to make it as geographically diverse as possible. So you're going to see a couple of projects today that fulfill that requirement. We want to use our existing transmission to the greatest extent possible, so we minimize the need to build new transmission to renewable areas. And we have a concept called clustering. What we'd like to do is cluster our projects together. Now, this isn't clustering renewables together, but clustering projects near resources that we already have. So, for example, you'll see projects today are clustered where we have crews that operate and maintain some of the switching stations or operate and maintain the transmission lines. And they actually live in these areas so they can not only operate and maintain the renewables, they can operate and maintain other things. So we cluster them together, and that's where ownership makes sense. And the projects we bring before you also fulfill that requirement. And ownership is very important, especially in areas where we have this clustering for the long-term stability of our renewables program and our reliability and our ability to integrate in, and these contracts also have that as part of that. Now, when we started the process for actually selecting renewables, we had an RFP. It's an open RFP, and we had over 220 responses. And so by applying our criteria and filtering them down and also looking at items like price, how much the O&M costs are, the transmission costs, the permit status, the developer experience, the quality of the projects, and if they're using qualified, trained personnel for the quality of the project. Those were other factors that helped us sort through and sift through to bring you two projects. So the first project we'd like to talk about today is Sempra's Copper Mountain 3, and the second project will be K-Ro's Moapa Solar Project. And both of these projects you see from this graph is that the orange area is what our renewables portfolio would be without any additional projects. And in 2016, we must hit 25%. And there's about a 7% deficit. And so with both of these projects, we'll make up about 5% of that deficit, leaving another 2% that we need to bring in additional projects. So Copper Mountain 3 is located near Boulder City, near Hoover Dam. We have staff that live in that area, and the project site's about 10 miles away from Boulder City. And on the next slide, you'll see that the project, Copper Mountain 3, is about 8 miles away from our Marketplace switching station with a very, very small Gentide line that ties into this area. And so we have capacity on the transmission from Marketplace to bring this project in, and we have the ability to expand that station to accommodate the interconnection of this project. Our developer, Sempra in this case, is a worldwide company with quite a bit of experience in all kinds of development, and they do have specific experience in renewable energy. Sempra has approximately 58 megawatts was what was officially posted, but they are actually building as we speak some of the projects. They've built Copper Mountain 1 and Copper Mountain 2, but they're actually at 220 megawatts in operation today. They have 1,000 megawatts in the development pipeline, and they are a very, very experienced solar developer. Now, the commercial operation date of this project is December 31st, 2015, and that's very important because we need the full output of this project in 2016 for us to hit our compliance requirements. The technology they've chosen is fixed-axis polycrystalline panels, and with that technology, it's a 25% capacity factor, and the price is $95.75 flat for 20 years. It's a 250 megawatt project. Now, this project is shared. It is a SCAPA project. LAWP is going to take 210 megawatts, and the city of Burbank is going to take 40 megawatts. This 210 megawatts contribution to LA will contribute about 1.9% to our RPS. And this project also has the ownership because it's within that cluster zone. And we have the option to own at years 10, 15, and 20. Now, this makes sense for them to operate as a PPA and us buy the energy because then they can extract the accelerated depreciation and the tax benefits, so we have a lower price. And then as those tax benefits become exhausted, we can step in and exercise our ownership option and integrate it fully into our system. It's on a piece of land that has a lease with Boulder City. It's 30 years with 2 10-year extension rights. So from a long-term perspective, recognizing LADWP has been here over 100 years, we will be here for 100 years, 50 years so that we can control, operate, and integrate this project, and we can repower the project as technology changes, is tremendously beneficial. On the transmission, because Marketplace substation, switching station is right there, we can tap into that, and our engineering team, working with Sempra's engineering team, is working to get the expansions in place with all the partners of the Marketplace project, because there are other partners with us, is that to get that done by 2014 when first solar energy is going to start delivering. These projects, they don't just flip one switch. They build solar and it starts delivering right away. So we'll get a constant stream of new solar as they continue to build the project. This project is not under CEQA. It's not under California Environmental Quality Act. It's under the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA. That was approved this year. There is one little remaining issue that they're working through, is that the transmission was going to go to McCullough, which is about 2 miles away from Marketplace. We switched that over to Marketplace to be more effective for our system, but they need to revise that portion of their environmental process, and they expect that to be complete by the end of the year. And of course, as the project gets engineered and procured, they will be starting the permitting process, which is a natural course of project management. They're grading permits and their permits to construct. So there's some issues with all projects, and these are issues that as a project team we will be managing our way through working with Sempra. Now, the first is the Desert Tortoise relocation. Now, this particular property is not defined as desert tortoise habitat. So there's a possibility they could find some desert tortoises on kind of a sporadic basis, and they are working with the county. The county has a very definitive plan to relocate desert tortoises. So Sempra, as part of this project, is funding that. The county is going to be mobilized to step in, and the procedures in place to relocate the desert tortoise. We talked a little bit about the transmission and the interconnection, and that work is on the way, and that's a big transmission project which we will have to manage internally. They are working on the BLM corridor. The other risk that we have is making sure that we're dealing with strong developers. And so with this contract, they bring with them a performance security. Now, the performance security needs to be with a highly rated agency of at least A. And Sempra themselves is rated BBB+, which is investment grade. Some of the other things, I'm going to skip down to project details. On this project, there is a $45 million performance security. And that's in place to hit certain milestones, because what we don't want to have happen is that the project doesn't get developed and then we get a call on December 31st and say, no project. We have to go out and find that energy somewhere because we have to comply. So in place are intermittent milestones that trigger performance security actions where we can draw upon that, and then we can use that money to procure renewables to back up any perceived delay in the project. On this project also, we have change in law protection. The CEC, California Energy Commission, is in the process of writing rules. And it's possible that they may at some point require some new standard. They may require higher performance meters. They may require some sort of new connection to a renewable accounting system that requires investment. It's not our project to invest. But Sempra will be investing to make sure that if there's a change in law that might put the project at risk of counting as renewable in the future because they need to make this investment, we'll only pay the Brown Energy price until they make those investments to get right with the accounting process and it is a renewable. In addition, Sempra will be managing some of the curtailment risks, 12,000 megawatts per year. So if there's any transmission glitch that requires the plant to roll back, Sempra will be covering that risk up to 12,000 megawatt hours a year, and beyond that, LA will be covering that risk. And then lastly, the impact on rates is this project will be about 12 cents per kilo. 0.12 cents per kilowatt hour. I was going to say megawatt hour, but thank you. And the monthly cost on a typical residential customer is going to be 60 cents. And so the major milestones for Sempra's Copper Mountain 3 project, we talked about the commercial operation date. They will be starting construction prior to June. One of the important things is that if the PPA is not awarded by the end of this year, then they will get a one-for-one delay in the COD date. So as you consider this and forward it to City Council for approval, our hope is that we can maintain the commercial operation date. Now, the structure of this agreement is a little bit different. It's a SCAPA project. So before you is not the power purchase agreement. What's before you is the power sales agreement with SCAPA. So SCAPA has the ability to sign the power purchase agreement, but through the power sales agreement, we agree to buy all of the output of the plant. And so you'll be given the opportunity to consider the power sales agreement as the first agreement, and then the second agreement is what's called an agency agreement. Since LADWP will be an 84% share of this project, LADWP will be the project managers on the project, and so we will be responsible for the coordinating committees and any of the interactions with Sempra during the development of the project. So with that, I'd like to then shift to the second project.
If I may, Mike, you mentioned that we're committing to buy all the energy, but our notes here have that City of Burbank is participating as well.
The power sales agreement says that we buy all of our share of the energy, so it's the 84% share of the energy.
All right, thank you. And Burbank's been a cooperative partner.
Burbank has been a cooperative partner, and we understand that their plan is to go forward with renewables packages at the end of October or November.
Thank you.
They are also a part of our balancing authority, so all the transmission issues and the distribution of the energy will be done by our normal agreements.
Is there a contingency in the power sales agreement in case Burbank decides it no longer wants to buy its 16%?
There is a contingency in the power sales agreement such that if Burbank is no longer able to buy due to credit reasons and they cannot, then we have step-in rights to procure the rest of that. And any of the SCAPA members participating can step in. LADWP is the only one in this particular case.
Okay.
I also have a question. Of the 220 RFPs that you received, how many of the proposals contemplated putting our investment on DWP-owned land? I'm concerned about the lease agreement and then not having control over that land, 30 years out.
we did not, in the SCAPA process, offer our land to build upon. Now, you will see that in the future. We hope you see that in the future. But on this...
Why haven't we seen it so far? It just makes sense.
Well, because on this particular RFP, all the SCAPA participants were really looking at the transmission and transmission corridors. DWP doesn't necessarily own all the land around the Marketplace Station. We had very limited potential to put solar around Marketplace Station itself. We had very limited land around McCullough. So we didn't have a whole lot of land in Boulder Valley. We don't have land along the Navajo transmission line. We only have the rights-of-way. So where LADWP has land for solar is in the Owens Valley and around, potentially, around the Mojave area.
And I understand your desire to cluster these projects. Was there an emphasis to perhaps put more of our investments in Owens Valley since we can control that land? How did you decide to separate?
Yeah, the reason that you see it separate is that in Owens Valley, we are in an environmental process, and we knew that process was going to take some time. And that's why when we look at kind of the next phase and we look at 2020, you will see DWP properties as part of that. One in Owens Valley, that environmental process is starting to conclude. Hopefully by next spring, we'll be able to bring something back to this board. And then we are working on closing some property near Mojave.
The strategy, Commissioner, is very important, and as Mike said, next chapter that you would see, it'll be more of that type of, but because of the timing issue, December 2015, we have to meet the 25% requirement, and the transmission and everything else that needs to be to get to the land that we own. It's a timing and the phasing issue, and you'll see that kind of unravel here with the other chapters coming up.
So the next project is K-Road's Moapan Solar Project. This is 30 miles northwest of Las Vegas. It's about 6 or so miles away from the Crystal substation. And you see on this map kind of the project location, and then the drill down, you can see, yeah, the project location is up on a mesa next to Highway 15. So actually, as you're driving along Highway 15, you won't even be able to see the project itself. And then the transmission goes along the corridor to Crystal, and that station is owned by Nevada Power, but because it's part of the Navajo Participation Agreement, we have rights to that project. Now, K-Road also has quite a bit of experience. They have over 2,300 megawatts in the various stages of development. They do have 25 megawatts in operation and about 500 megawatts that is fully permitted and ready to go. This also has a commercial operation date of December 31st, 2015, and they are in the process of optimizing the technology for this site. So they are very, very close to receiving their engineering packages to evaluate. So this is a site that has some very, very flat land that might be very suitable for tracking, single-axis tracking systems, and some more undulating land which is more appropriate for fixed-tilt panels. And so they have a capacity factor up to 32%, depending on the mix of technologies that they decide to use. And the price of the PPA is $91.69. Now, this project, LADWP, it started as a SCAPA project, but none of the other SCAPA members had transmission rights along the Navajo corridor, so it didn't really make sense for them to participate. So ultimately, LADWP is the only participant in this project, and we are going to be taking the full 250 megawatt output.
Perhaps you could also explain the different buckets that are available to utilities to meet their RPS goals for the commissioners, because perhaps it would be important for them to understand the transmission rights and be able to count it as a renewable.
Oh, excellent. And so This will contribute to 3% to our renewables, and the 3% that's contributed is what's called portfolio content category number 1. We call it bucket number 1. And for bucket number 1 is a project needs to be connected to our balancing authority, so we fully integrate and balance for it. So we were providing all of the operating reserves necessary. And so we operate the Navajo transmission line, and it is part of our balancing authority. So as this project comes into Crystal, it is like it was directly connected. It is directly connected to our balancing authority, and we control it whether it's Haynes or Crystal or IPP. That's all one system. So this will clearly qualify as portfolio category number 1. There are other categories, but our focus is to make sure that we get at least 75% PCC1 for our compliance targets. And we believe that that's our primary strategy with other types of categories like renewable energy credits, and we talked about this when we brought the policy. They're really there for tune-up and true-up if you have shortfalls or a little long, because they're a little bit more fungible product to move on to the marketplace. This project also has the ownership option. Our crews are maintaining that transmission line. It is a 25-year PPA, and the lease term is 50 years. Now, the nuance of this project is that to exercise our rights at Crystal, we have to build a transmission line and own a transmission line to connect in. So what we've done in this particular agreement is we have asked K-Road to build the transmission line for us, and then prior to the solar being delivered, we will purchase that transmission and integrate it into our OASIS, our tariffs, and operate it as a transmission system. And the maximum price is $18 million, which is above what we expect to build it at. So we're asking for approval to not exceed $18 million for the purchase of this transmission. And if you include the transmission costs and allocate that over the life of the PPA, it adds about $1.50 a megawatt hour. So the equivalent price for comparison purposes with the Semper project is $23.19. We also have plenty of capacity to bring all of this energy into our system. Now, the environmental status is that, this project, the K-Road project, is fully permitted. They have a record of decision as of June 21st for the NEPA process. And they will also be applying for the grading permits and construction permits as we move forward. Now, the environmental risk is also desert tortoise, and this is on tribal land, the Moapan tribal land, and the Moapans have set aside 6,000 acres to relocate desert tortoise. Now, for them, they also, we'll see later, need to get approval of the PPA by December 31st in order to meet the COD. But if there's a delay after that, instead of a 1-for-1 delay, they actually have a 6 months delay in the COD. And the reason is they can only relocate desert tortoise during certain seasons. And they know that they're going to need to relocate desert tortoise in this area, and they have developed that plan to do that. And so they need to hit that spring season, or they have to wait until the fall season to move the desert tortoise. We are working with Nevada Power as we speak on the interconnection with our transmission line into that corridor. And they're working through the interconnection studies, and they'll work through the facilities agreements. They also are required to have a strong qualified issuer of the performance security. They have strong investors with Barclays Capital as a major investment in their corporation. Now, the performance security is a little bit different. In this particular case, the performance security is $35 million. And the change in law is a little bit different. Is that in this particular contract, the change in law is capped at $7.5 million over the course of the contract, and LADWP will pay the green energy price. So working with K-Road, we'll have to work together to make sure that if there is anything that requires investment, we work diligently to get that investment done so that there are no delays of meeting target dates and there is no brown energy being delivered. Also on curtailments is that since we're the transmission operator, we're comfortable operating transmission, we are taking the curtailment risks should there be curtailments that require the solar facility to drop its output. And so those are some of the reasons you see the price difference between the two projects as we participate in more of the risks with KREV.
Mike, this is a great point. When you're saying curtailment risk, there you're talking about transmission curtailment.
Transmission curtailment risk, yes. And so, again, they have some particular milestones where performance securities are triggered. We want to trigger these securities so that we know they're advancing very aggressively on their project's timeline. And December 31st is the key milestone that we're looking for. And so out of all of the projects that we've looked at when we were doing the evaluation, these projects really do meet our criteria of using our transmission, providing geographic diversity, the clustering of ownership options, negotiating long-term lease agreements for the future, and will help us support our coal replacement strategy, because for us to replace coal, we need to do energy efficiency, we need to do renewables, and then lastly, combined cycle natural gas to fill in the gaps. But we need it all for us to move off coal in the future. And so with that, we are happy to entertain all of your questions, and I'll bring experts up depending on the detail of the question.
Mr. Moss?
No.
Ms. Noonan?
No.
I only have one question. You've noted that there are DWP personnel that are out in the Boulder City area. I'm just curious to know just how many are out there, and do we envision hiring more?
We do have the McCullough station at the Boulder, which is adjacent to the property that you saw. So we have 24/7 coverage in there. So we have probably about 10 personnel there, and on temporary basis we have crews that go out there for maintenance and repairs and also construction activities that go on. So that number goes up and down. That's one hub. The other hub is the transmission headquarters that we have in Boulder City, which is used for fueling, staging, and all the activities that we do to maintain the microwave system up and down the DC line all the way to Delta, Utah, and also patrolling the lines coming into the Boulder Valley and also going up to Utah. So it is a hub for us. As you know, Boulder City used to be a city that the department had majority of the assets was there when we maintained Hoover Dam. And so we do have a lot of personnel that live there, retirees that are there, and a lot of assets that we use to stage the operations from there to the north.
Do we anticipate doing some hires in the Boulder City area?
We do have hiring that would happen, especially if we have expansion of this this project is one, but in the future, if we have additional, that is a great area for us to draw a skilled force, because of the housing and the accommodations that we have there, and also all the support functions that we have there, the fueling and the repairs and staging and the warehousing and everything else we have.
And there's room on the transmission line for the 250 plus 250.
Yes, there's plenty of capacity on each of those lines all the way into the city.
Great. Well, is there a motion?
I have speaker cards
Oh,
for 12 and 13.
I'd like to take them together if possible.
Okay.
So can you call the first speaker, please?
Okay, the first speaker is William Anderson.
Welcome, Mr. Anderson. Read your letter. Glad you're here.
Glad to be here. Really nice day. And good afternoon, everyone. I am William Anderson. I'm the chairman for the Moab Band of Paiutes. I'm here today to speak on behalf of my tribe to go ahead and talk to you about the solar facility. This is going to be one of the largest solar facilities in Indian country across the whole United States. This is the first time that something on this size, of this industrial scale that's going to be placed on the reservation. We've been working very hard, very diligently to work with everybody from Ken Salazar to Secretary of Interior to go ahead and give us, this opportunity to go ahead and build something like this, to go ahead and build this on a reservation. Pretty much what this is that this is a great opportunity for our tribe and for the surrounding community, as well as everyone else that's going to be involved in the whole process, to go ahead and bring a lot of jobs and a lot of economic development, not only just for our tribe, but for the surrounding communities as well. We've been trying to go ahead and work on something like this for a long time, and when the opportunity came, it just was appropriate, since we do have a lot of land and we do have a lot of sun, and we have a power corridor going right through our land, so it just seemed perfect for us to go ahead and do this. During this time is that we have a coal-fired plant that is just yards away, few hundred yards away from where our general population of our tribe is. And during this time, they've been facing the effects of the pollution that's been coming through our reservation. And at the beginning, it wasn't just, it couldn't be too coincidental that for this to happen, for this amount of people that live in this area to go ahead and face these type of problems. And so what we're trying to do also is we're trying to go ahead and set the example, show that we're responsible to go ahead and, have a clean environment, and instead of polluting the earth and providing all this different type of problems that it's facing, not only for the health and the well-being of our people, but we want to go ahead and set the example to go ahead and provide there's alternate ways of providing energy. And we want to show that by doing this, by having this project here. And through the help that we've been receiving and all the support we've been receiving, not only just from the people around the communities in the state of Nevada, but also through all the environmental groups too. They've been, helping us along and giving us that support we've been really looking that we really need. And it's been everybody through these different agencies and different departments that we were working with that. It's so important that we show that we could do something about this. And so it was just the perfect time for it to continue on and do what we're trying to do. And the one thing is that I do have a little presentation that last year Earth Justice came up to our reservation to go ahead and do a small documentary on the problems that we're facing. So I'd just like to go ahead and leave that with you too, so that way you can review it anytime you want to. Sorry, I'm a little nervous today. It's, but like I said, that's just something I wanted to go ahead and share with you and express that this is the one thing that our tribe we really need, because we don't have that much out there to go ahead and provide for our people, and this is a great job opportunity, not just for now, but for future generations to come. And one last note is that I do want to applaud you for not continuing to go ahead and purchase power from the Navajo generating station. So thank you for that.
Mr. Anderson, thank you very much. It's great to have a tribal chairman, here with us. Really honored.
Well, I wanted to be here. I wanted to make sure that I talked to you personally so I could let you guys know what's going on and, show how much this is important, how important this is to all of us.
Yes, Ms. Newman.
I have one question for the department.
Yes.
I'm just curious if the project labor agreement has already been established with, I understand there's about 300 jobs that will be created by this project?
The project labor agreement will happen between K-Road and the local labor pool. So that's coming. I don't think they specifically have chosen the companies and arranged the engineering and the construction arm of the project.
Okay.
But it will be happen. K-Road has committed to have a project labor agreement in place in writing. They've committed for that.
Satisfactory answer?
Yes, I was curious.
All right. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Jessica Goodhart.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Goodhart, and I'm Director of the Repower LA project at the Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy. And Lane, for a number of years, has been an advocate of responsible development that is responsible to the environment, that creates good jobs, and that where the developers, in this case the department, is working with the communities impacted by the development. And I just want to say that the K-Road project seems like an excellent example of this kind of responsible development, and I want to express my strong support for it. It's going to create 250 megawatts of renewable energy It's going to help us with our transition away from coal. It's going to create hundreds of good union jobs when jobs are very scarce. And crucially, there's been collaboration with the community impacted by the project, in this case, the Moapa Band of Paiutes. And, of course, there's also a plan in place to protect the wildlife that's impacted by the project. So, in short, this is a great opportunity, and I really want to support it. And then just to take a moment also to thank the board and management of the department for being such strong supporters of energy efficiency and good jobs and services for communities in Los Angeles as well. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker for item 13 is Linda Romney.
As you know, the city of Los Angeles has an unemployment rate in excess of 25%. The Department of Water and Power is a monopoly. Your ratepayers cannot go anywhere else. We are the ones for which you receive the revenue. Nevertheless, you take our money, and on these two huge projects, you funnel it to Nevada. There is such an urgency in the city of Los Angeles in particular, the county of Los Angeles, and the state. But nevertheless, we go to Nevada with these two huge projects. When there was the increase on the electric, your ratepayer said, oh, wonderful. This means that because of solar, we're going to have additional jobs coming to ourselves. The fact of the matter is that you take the money, force the money from your ratepayers in the city of Los Angeles, then you turn your back in totality on the ratepayers, and what do? You go to Nevada. I'm very, very disappointed, and I'm sure the ratepayers are. We should keep the money in the city. If we cannot keep it in the city, keep it at least within the county. If you can't keep it within the county, keep it at least within California. California is having a problem. The county's having a problem. And the city of Los Angeles is having the worst problem of all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
That was all the speakers for 12 and 13.
Commissioners, any questions? Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion. Should we do it separately, 12 and 13?
I would like to do them together if possible.
Okay. And then I'd like to move that we approve both 12 and 13.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing no objection, the two measures pass. Thank you very much. An excellent presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Barbara, for the last vote, I'd like the record to reflect that President Sales was not present in the room when that vote was taken. The minutes to reflect. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item number 14, and I do have two speaker cards for this one.
Is there a presentation on 14, please? Mr. Pettijohn, good to see you.
Thank you, Commissioner Parfrey. Commissioners, my name is David Pettijohn. I'm the Director of Water Resources, and this is Andy Nicknaff from my staff. He manages our watershed management group. One of their primary responsibilities is our stormwater program. We're here today to speak to you on item number 14 and give you a short presentation, a verbal presentation, and answer any questions you might have. You might recall that we were here on August 21st, and in response to Commissioner Moss's directions, we delayed the item, and we've modified it to include some of the things that you requested, Commissioner Moss. This item is recommending approval of a resolution authorizing execution of our guiding principles for the development and implementation of the LADWP's local water supply program. This program sets our long-term vision for the benefits that local supply projects in water will provide the city over time. On page 2, you'll see some bullet points. I'm going to summarize these bullet points. There are essentially 6 principles 6 directives that your board is going to give staff. The first is it directs us to accelerate the development and implementation of the local water supply program that is in our existing 2010 Urban Water Management Plan. And in that plan, there are 4 initiatives for the development of local supplies, a conservation initiative to increase conservation by 2035, up by 64,000 acre-feet a year, a recycle water initiative to increase our recycled water production by 59,000 acre-feet by 2035, a stormwater capture initiative to increase production from stormwater by 25,000 acre-feet by 2035, and finally, a groundwater cleanup initiative which will get us back to historical levels of groundwater pumping by 2025. And this program that you're directing today will accelerate all the goals that I've just mentioned. The second directive in the guiding principles tells staff to complete several studies that we will feed into this accelerated water supply program. Those studies include our recycled water master plan, our conservation potential study, and finally our stormwater capture master plan. The third directive tells staff to pursue stakeholder engagement. This includes both public engagement by the environmental community and stakeholders, also engagement by other city departments, including the Department of Public Works, Bureau of Sanitation, and finally Los Angeles County. Another directive was one we added in response to Commissioner Moss's request. This asks us to come back to your board on an annual basis and review with your board and report on the progress and budgeting for each of the initiatives contained in the accelerated program. We also added another directive in response to some comments we got from the environmental community, in particular the Green LA Coalition. This directive tells us to work with the city, the county, the state, on the adoption of codes and standards to adopt essentially water use efficiency measures and accelerate those water use efficiency measures and broaden the use of recycled water and stormwater. And finally, the heart of the directives tells staff to identify specific potential projects and analyze the feasibility, internal resource needs, cost benefit, and the associated water rate impacts of those projects, and to put those projects into essentially a programmatic plan that we'll bring back to your board for adoption. Our schedule for that is to get it back to you by the summer of next year. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
I think we need to take a very short break. Give us about 15 minutes, or 5 minutes, actually. Yeah, and then we'll be back. We just need a short break.
Certainly.
Thanks.
Recording.
Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. I think we're at the point where you were ready for questions. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Commissioners Moss or Noonan, any questions on this matter?
I'll take one. Mr. Pettijohn, thank you very much. It wasn't anything you said that caused us to
You had me a little
leave the
worried
room.
there.
It was one of life's real coincidences, but we won't go into details. So.
And I want to thank you for redrafting the principles and incorporating the reporting requirement. I think that's going to be very helpful and will ensure that the principles are being met and are being implemented properly and are actually being pushed a little, as time goes on and recalibrated according to what is needed. I did have a question, though, about one of the principles, which is the groundwater improvement study for the San Fernando Valley Basin. I'd like to know, because it says here that you'll continue to work towards completing the study, and I want to know approximately when you think that study will be done, or at least when we can expect to see some preliminary results from the study.
Now, we have a groundwater system. Is that the groundwater system improvement study that you're referring to, or is it one of the studies that I refer to in my presentation?
It's your second in the resolution. It's the second bullet point. LADWP will continue to work towards completing its groundwater system improvement study, the SFB.
Oh, yes. This study is an ongoing study. We had a preliminary study completed, which had some ideas in it that gave us a pathway forward to clean up the San Fernando Basin. We've had recent discussions. I won't get into too many details on it, but we are trying to craft a way that we could phase the cleanup of the San Fernando groundwater basin in a fashion that would allow us to do some upfront no regrets actions and complete the project. The original goal to complete the groundwater cleanup was 2021 in the urban water management plan. So we're hoping that we can do some similar things to what we did at the Tahunga well field, maybe do some additional wellhead treatment potentially to try to accelerate that. But we are still working on a final plan for that, and I do not have a date certain for that.
I think, Commissioner, I'm kind of pulling this from memory, but I want to say the end of 2013. One of the issues that we had is when we were going through our water rate action this last year, we had to curtail this study, and it's taken us a while to get. When you stop something, you lose the momentum, and so what happened is we lost our drilling contractors, and we had to. We just recently got going on that. I think by the end of, I think it's the end of 2013 is what Dr. Parekh indicated to me as the target date to have that done. However, we should have intermediate results along the way. I know that we've completed one of the monitoring wells. We've got another couple under construction right now. There's about 20 more wells that are all part of this, and we're starting to get data back from those wells now as to groundwater characterization. But
do you think it will be possible as we're completing the study that we can begin implementing some of the cleanup as we go along, or
we can probably start the design process as we know what the contaminants of concern are going to be. That would be probably the quickest thing where we could put that on the critical path.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions on item 14? I think we have one public speaker. If there are no other questions from commissioners.
Yes, I have 2 speaker cards for 14. The first speaker is Deborah Weinstein.
Good afternoon. I'm Deborah Weinstein. I'm the Director of Policy at Tree People. I'm actually here today wearing 2 hats. One is as a partner and consultant to DWP through Tree People's MOA that we have with the department that this board has actually approved on 2 different occasions. And secondly is the co-chair of the Green LA water campaign. We believe it's way past time that we accelerate the development and implementation of the city's local water supply. We believe the timeline in the original urban water management plan is just much too slow. Tree People has shown through the past 15 to 20 years that capturing and infiltrating or reusing stormwater is not only feasible, but importantly, it's scalable and that this free reign can become a major part of our water supply. Not only will this reliable local water supply protect the city from disruptions to our imported water, such as from natural disasters, climate change, and legal restrictions, but importantly, it will create local jobs, it will improve our water quality, and save the city money. The very first point in this resolution before the board is for a feasibility study. This study is critical and should begin immediately. And as Mr. McDaniel just said, momentum is important, and passing this resolution and getting this feasibility study started is critical. We strongly believe that the cost-benefit analysis will show that the cost of continuing to import over 85% of our water supply will not compare favorably to investing in our local water supply when you consider the categories I just mentioned above. Tree People would like to continue to work with DWP on all aspects of this resolution as an advisor and to turn this resolution into reality. To close, we want to thank the staff and, of course, General Manager Nichols for working with us on this issue for really over the past year, maybe year and a half. And we fully support this resolution and urge approval today by the board. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Stephanie Taylor.
Good afternoon. I'm going to echo Deborah's urge to approve the resolution today as well. And I was here before the board on August, and I just wanted to remind you that the Green LA Water Committee also includes Environment Now, Food and Water Watch, Heal the Bay, Hollywood Beautification Team, Generation Water, Southern California Water Alliance, and Tree People. And so, again, we're very pleased, and we also want to thank and acknowledge Mr. Nichols and Jim McDaniels and the Water Resources staff for this resolution. As we said before, it's a very, very important step towards accelerating our local water program goals. And so when this resolution was before the board in August, we had a number of amendments that we were requesting. And we're very pleased to hear today that some changes have been made. And so I just wanted to come before and say, you know, we really think this is an extremely important step forward, and we really urge the board to approve this resolution as it is today. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the last card for number 14.
I think there's strong support for this. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing no objections, item 14 passes. Item 15. Welcome back.
Thank you, President Sales. I'm here on item 15. This is an MOU to recommend approval of an MOU between the LADWP and LA County Flood Control District for improving our water supply reliability through a couple of local projects. Essentially, the MOU is facilitating us to get money. And so we're going to, through this MOU, we'll get about $5.5 million, $3 million for a Tahunga Spreading Grounds Enhancement Project. That's a stormwater capture program. And also $2.5 million for the Central Los Angeles County Regional Water Recycling Program. And that's a water recycling program. And we can answer any questions you might have about this.
Questions or comments?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Hearing no objections, item 15 passes. Thank you. Item 16. Mr. Lieber, is that you?
It is.
Okay.
Commissioner Sales, I have two insurance matters.
16 and 17, we'll take them together?
I'll discuss them both. They're somewhat related.
Okay.
We have good news on one and not so good news on the other. I'll give you the
Well, give us the good news first.
Okay, I can do that. That would be the opposite order. Continuing the good news about our workers' comp program. On the workers' comp insurance renewal, we do have good news in that we're getting more coverage for lower premium. That's hard to take issue with. So we did do a comprehensive marketing effort. We got interest from one additional carrier that will remove a current $500 million limit on our excess insurance program. And they will, at the same time, provide a lower premium than our existing carrier. So that's a pretty straightforward recommendation that we have, that we should proceed with this program.
Is there a motion to approve item 17, or are there other questions on 17?
I'll move to approve 17.
I second that.
Hearing no objections, item 17 passes. No, item 16.
Okay, with
Not
respect
so
to item
good.
16, here we have not so good news. So we have a property insurance program that provides limits of about $500 million. And here we have the opposite case. We are looking at premiums that are substantially higher for less coverage. And a lot of this relates to our loss history in our property program. Over the past 4 fiscal years, we've had higher losses than we've experienced over the past decade. We've had about 7 losses ranging from about $5 to $17 million. Our carriers have looked at this and found that our program is uneconomic for them to write, given the current premium. So if we were to continue with a program structured like the expiring program, the cost would be about 300% higher than our existing program. So the premium would increase from roughly $7 million to over $22 million a year, if we could even line up carriers at that price. We have deemed that that is not economic for us to continue with that approach. So our insurance broker has worked with us to develop a couple of options. One would be to continue with the same overall limit, but with just a substantially higher deductible, increasing from $2 million to $10 million a year. Even with that, we're still looking at an increase in our premium from just under $7 million to about $8 million. At the same time, we don't feel entirely comfortable with that because we do have additional exposure with a $10 million deductible. So we were hopeful that we might develop another option, and we've been working on one that would provide a lower deductible for any second or subsequent losses in a given year. Give us some cap on our exposure. We've been hopeful that we could arrange a program like that for a cost of about another $2 million a year. We don't have either of those proposals finalized as we speak to you today. The current policy expires on November 1st. We're going to continue working with our broker. We're asking for authority to pursue either one of those options, although as of today, it's looking like the simpler approach, option 1, where we just increase the deductible to $10 million, is the direction we would likely head. In the past couple of days, we've learned that the premium could be reduced from the roughly $8 million estimate, probably closer to $7 million. Additionally, the second option, we're not sure carriers could be lined up for that, and it doesn't look like it would be economic for us at this time anyway. We just apply that program to our past loss history, it would have been a loser for us. We would have spent more on premium than we would have saved. So our tentative direction is to pursue option 1, but we would still ask for authority to continue to refine those estimates in the coming days. And in the event we did find that the second approach or something similar was economic, we could potentially pursue that.
Commissioner Noonan?
Thank you. It's my understanding that of the 3 losses that we experienced last year, there's one that is in question as to whether or not the department is partially or entirely responsible, and that event that the carriers view as a loss really is being reviewed through litigation right now. So my question is whether or not the department has asked the carriers to provide 2 quotes. One, in the event that the department is found to be at fault and assumes that loss, what the premium would be. And if the judgment's ruled that it was not our fault and that the insurance company will be reimbursed the monies that they had to pay out prior to getting a settlement, whether or not our premiums will be retroactively decreased.
We have not made such a request at the present time, although that's something we could certainly pursue in the days ahead. We do have some time before the expiration, and rather than come to you at the later October board meeting and leave even less time if you did have direction to move in one approach versus the other, we preferred to come now, given this type of opportunity to ask further questions of the carriers. So we could do that.
Yeah, I'll just state one of the sentences that just rubbed me the wrong way, in the documentation was the statement, due to the program's lost history, the expiring program is in essence no longer available. And I think with the matter pertaining to the specific loss scenario that I'm talking about, I think that the department really needs to take an aggressive stand with the entities involved, because it's a very large dollar issue. And from the data that I've been given, it seems like we're totally in the right. And I don't think that it's in the ratepayers' best interest to just assume that we're going to cover that loss when, in fact, it wasn't our responsibility.
Commissioner Parker and Commissioner Moss?
Well, I'm sorry.
Please.
I'm a little troubled. Have we looked at the loss history that's causing us a problem? I mean, are these anomalous losses that we're experiencing, or is this something that we're going to have to anticipate happening year in and year out?
We do have a loss history. I have reference in front of me over the past 14 years. In terms of the number of losses, we don't see a substantial increase in the past few years, but the value of the losses is higher. And we just had some relatively sizable losses. Again, in the past 3 years, the losses are on the average of about $14 to $15 million a year. In the decade prior to that, probably a third of that.
Okay. Well, there may not be much we can do this year with this particular, line that we're going to have to purchase, but I would encourage the department to look really hard at why the loss history is trending in the wrong direction. We could be unlucky, but it also could be indicative of something else that maybe we have some control over. So I'll leave it at that.
Commissioner Noonan?
I just want to offer my opinion on the situation. Of the 3 losses, the one that I've been speaking about comprises the greatest revenue loss. And what's important about making sure that we at least try to get that premium retroactively reduced is it's not only going to affect our approval for this year's policies, but typically carriers, they look at 4 or 5 years. So if they just assume that we're taking accountability and responsibility for it, the ratepayers can be forced to pay higher premiums that truly are unfair and unjust.
I'm glad you're bringing this up then.
So I actually like Commissioner Noonan's suggestion that perhaps we'll go for the higher deductible at the 7 or 8 million, but subject to a reopener, depending on how that loss that's in question is resolved. What's the feeling of the group?
Sounds right to me.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Is that a workable solution?
We're very comfortable with that. As I said, when we first drafted this memo, we thought that option 2 looked somewhat promising, but given that the broker hasn't been able to line up a final proposal a couple weeks after presenting this to us, we're not confident that there's going to be interest in it. And option 1 costs less, and as we actually applied that second program to our loss history, we don't think 2 looks all that attractive. So I think 1, given the change Commissioner Noonan has recommended, would be very workable for the department.
With an absolute right to reopen, given the outcome. Look out, given the resolution of that loss. Okay, is there a motion to that effect?
Well, two questions. One, do we need to change the resolution to provide for that?
I think we should.
Okay, but before we get there, Mr. General Manager, is this option 1 with the higher cost, is this a budget buster for us, or is this something that we're going to be able to absorb and carry forward with?
Well, I actually would believe that we have accommodation for it within the budget, but I would let Phil add a little more color to that.
We do have a self-insurance fund that will provide the cash funding for losses of this nature. So we don't think it will present problems in terms of the budget, but it is additional financial exposure. It would be our preference to retain a lower deductible. It's just really not.
And the deductible applies to every claim we make, correct?
It would. So if we had 3 substantial losses, we could have a $10 million, $10 million, and $10 million, and $30 million loss. Yeah.
So is there a motion to revise the resolution along the lines we've been talking about?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any objections? Hearing none, item passes as revised. Item 18.
Mr. President, this
You want
is...
to take 18 and 19 together? Or they,
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll go together, but just the background on this issue, as this commission has approved back before the law took into effect in January 1, the AB 1027, which was the state bill that governed the pole attachment rules and regulations. We had a standard contract that this board has approved before that date. What you have in front of you is...
Aaron, excuse me, I should have done something. I think one of the lawyers, Ms. Black, had an announcement on these items. Yes. Didn't mean to forget about you,
I put in cards so I wouldn't forget. I just wanted to make an announcement that there was an error in Appendix C to both the template as well as the Time Warner Cable contract concerning the insurance requirements. That has been corrected on the website, is my understanding, and I wanted to correct it for the record today. The insurance requirements omitted by mistake the requirement for automobile liability for owned autos, hired autos, non-owned autos, and additional insured at the occurrence limit of $1 million. LADWP also requires professional liability for contractual liability and a 3-year discovery tail in the amount of $1 million. Time Warner Cable's attorney received the correct insurance requirements back on May 7, 2012 via email by me, and I subsequently contacted both their attorney by phone and email of this mishap, and hopefully it'll be all corrected today.
Okay.
Any questions? And the secretary of the board is in possession of the corrected Appendix C to both contracts.
Does this create any notice problems for us in terms of...
No.
No? Okay. Okay. I don't think so.
Thank
Thank you. Aaron, continue.
So so basically this contract does two things. It does give...
We're talking about 18 or 19 now.
The standard, the item number 18 is the standard contract,
Right.
and item number 19 is basically taking that standard contract that would be approved by this board and applying it to Time Warner as one of the subscribers to that contract.
Okay.
So the template will be used for Time Warner's contract as we approve as this board approves number 19. But basically, the two parts of it is the terms and the conditions of the mutual agreements that we have with the subscribers to attach their cables to our poles and what constitutes a space that they would be using and what kind of conditions that they would have to notify us and the permitting process that we have to go through to allow them to attach. The new contract that you have in front of you is basically taking the law, AB 1027, and making sure that our standard template is compliant with the law, including the fee calculation that we went back, and there's a slight reduction in our $18.35 fee is dropped to 17-something in your package. So we've done all those corrections, and we are comfortable with the standard agreement to move forward, and we've talked to the parties, and they all are in agreement that this is in compliance with the law, and we need to move forward with this.
Questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Moss?
Two questions. One, what is the amount of revenue that we're getting from the polls over, just in the aggregate every year?
It's in millions of dollars. It's not a big amount. To us, operationally, it's basically making sure our operations are not hindered by these attachments. So we do have to follow the rules as far as the safety and the attachments, and making sure our poles are not overstressed as we put lines and insulators on it. So we do have a plan check process that we go through to make sure that the as-built drawings are kept up to date. So when our crews go up there, they know where it's attached, how it's attached, and what the loading is. That to us is more of an issue than...
Does the revenue stream cover the cost of the DWP to insure all of that?
We do have a formula that will allow us to take all our O&M costs and the tree trimming and everything else, and then that formula will calculate the end result of what we charge per attachment.
Okay.
So we are in compliance with the formula and also what the law allows us to include in that formula.
Okay. Now, with the new law, are we going to be, is the board going to be looking at a lot of different agreements that need to be redone based upon the new law?
The template will allow us to just bring those agreements as a template. We'll use exactly the template that the board approved, and then we'll just subscribe it to the individual requesters.
Okay.
Will we use a new template as agreement expires, or will we do this retroactively?
This would be basically taking us back to, we have terminated the old contracts as of July. Janice has is it July?
Time Warner Cable had assumed contracts that were in violation of our administrative code. I terminated them on July 31st, 2012. This will be a replacement contract, and the templates for future subscribers will be brought to the board each time for their approval in accordance with Admin Code 23.142.
But my question is, I assume we have existing attachment agreements now, other than these two.
Yes, the resolution that's before the board on the general template, there were 3 subscribers that had executed the prior template. We have asked the board for approval to have them re-executed and deem it approved under this current resolution.
Well, we will bring those.
I understand. Other questions from the board on item 18 or 19? Is there a motion to approve both those items?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Any objections? Hearing none, items 18 and 19 are approved. Item 20?
I do have a speaker card for item 20.
Yes, sir. Let's hear the speaker.
Speaker is Robert Elbinger.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This concerns a grievance appeal, and there was the Personnel Relations Committee heard the appeal in July and then issued a report and recommendation to be approved by the full board. I have prepared a written outline of some exceptions, and I have it with me, and I came today to ask the board to receive it and read it before voting on the matter. There's a request in there to continue the matter, and that's all explained in the written response. That's really it. I just want to ask if I can deliver this to the Secretary. I have a few copies with me.
Sure. Was this matter presented to the Personnel Board, the information you are providing now?
Not.
Is this new information?
It's a response to a written report concerning a hearing. It's not a brand new matter, if that's what you mean.
No, I mean the information that you're providing now. There was a proceeding before.
Yeah.
Previous proceeding, right?
Right.
Did you present that information?
Not all of it. Some of it.
So this is new information.
Some of it hasn't been presented. There were time limitations on the hearing. Commissioner Noonan asked a question. I didn't get a chance to address that question, and for that reason, among others, I'm asking that the hearing be continued. And it's all explained in my written.
Commissioner Noonan, Commissioner Parsley?
I'm fine with that.
Me too.
Yeah, so we'll have a motion to defer action on the item. We'll consider it in our next meeting. That'll give us ample opportunity to consider the new information that you bring forth.
May I approach the Secretary and hand it?
She'll come. Someone will, the guard or someone will get it. So.
Thanks.
So
All right,
thank you. Is there a motion to defer this item?
Move to defer.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any objections? Hearing none. Item 20 is deferred. This is it, though. Okay, so you need to tell us now everything you're going to tell us. Okay? Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're up to filed items. Are there questions or comments on either of the reports that were filed for the water or the power system? Hearing none? No, those items are deemed filed. There's also our management reports. There are 2 of those. Any questions on those? Hearing none, those are filed.
I have
Just quick point. I believe there was we'd like to do a short presentation on the update report on smart grid.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And Aaron.
Yep. Mr. President, I just go through a short report. This is a follow-up. We several months ago, we put out a report that kind of outlined our vision of what a smart grid means to us and what we're doing as far as activities moving forward. So I'd like to take just a couple minutes going over and giving you a status of where we are and what the definition of smart grid means to LADWP as a utility. So to us, the term smart grid it's not a new term. Over the past century, as technology has evolved, we always have incorporated that in our operations, whether it's on the generation side, the transmission side, and also with the new technology on the meter side, we're looking at areas of improvements on all fronts of the power system. The system, the LA system, is a large network of generators, transmission, high voltage transmission, and then in the distribution area of our system, we have thousands of assets that over time we have incorporated technology and based on the operations and the consumer needs, we've evolved the system to a point where it is what it is today with the substation automation and everything else that we have put in place. One item on the right-hand side of the slide here, the meters that we have today, kind of break down on what the types of the meters that we have in our system. The old mechanical meters that we have at the consumer side is about 1.3 million meters that we have in place. We also have introduced over time some 120,000 radio frequency meter, which allows us to kind of read remotely those meters, and that's a technology that I'll follow up on and give you some update on where we are on that. And we also have about 9,000 meters that are sort of advanced type technology, which we have two-way communication, not quite to the standard of where we should be, but we do have some communication with those meters because of the lifeline and other issues, for operational reasons. The grant that we had gotten from the Department of Energy basically told us to research the different areas, and the way it was divided, it was the cooperation that we had with the universities, with UCLA, with USC, and with the JPL, is to go through a very structured research that we would conduct on identifying opportunities for us to incorporate technology in the city of LA and to deploy something other than the system that we have today. So we have divided the tasks between these universities into areas as electric vehicle deployment, the communications infrastructure, the cybersecurity, and the threats as we add more nodes to our system as far as the security of our system. Consumer behavior being part of it. And we're drilling down through all of these tasks with the universities. But what we have found out that the issues and the problems and the resolutions that we come up with in the test lab, we need to kind of deploy it in some sort of a micro system to make sure that those systems not only work in real life, but we also have all the systems that back up the information system and the collection system, that everything that we have in currently are compatible with those gathering the information, tabulating the information, getting it to translate into operational needs that we would be sorting out with costs and benefits. So we don't have this massive deployment of meters when we don't have these issues all weighed and identified and phased in as we move the system forward. So with that, what you see here is an area that we call it a microgrid, because this sort of represents a mini city. If we had the city of LA was confined into these 10 blocks of residential, commercial, and other types of customers that we would have, it kind of represents that. It does have everything that we need that kind of gives us a nice larger lab size where we could deploy technology from the generator, which is the Castaic in this case. This is in the valley, so we have the Castaic generating unit, the transmission lines tying Castaic to this area, the distributing station that feeds this area, and all the lines and the cables and the feeders and the transformers and the infrastructure that supports this area. So we're taking a leap from the lab into a real-life application, and we're trying to make sure that anything that we put in here, it will give us several advantages as far as operational flexibility, efficiencies, and also consumer needs that would go through it. So the way we look at the grid advancement is that our Energy Control Center is in the center of all these competing requirements that we have to make sure that we don't deploy an asset and we invest in an infrastructure that would be either prematurely invested without really taking it through all the way through the system to make sure that as a package it works, or we don't shortchange ourselves in the deployment of any of those infrastructure that we would find ourselves investing in parts of the system and stranding it until we have the second part divested. So this is a lot of coordination going on between the operation side and the consumer side, but we see it that all these needs that we have, whether it's cybersecurity, electric vehicles, solar deployment, reliability, operational responsiveness, responding to outages and taking care of the grid and the repairs and everything. We need to have a no regrets type infrastructure that we would put in place, that no matter what happens with technology, that we will not have any part of that deployment stranded out there, for us to go back and redeploy those assets and then go back again from scratch on this advancement of this technology. In your package, you have this is sort of a decision making graph that we've had some consultants come in and help us interview, analyze, and put in a sort of a grid system as far as the effort that we will take and the impacts of anything that we deploy out there, as far as the cost benefits and what does that mean to our system. So when you look at the right-hand side of the efforts versus the impact to our system, you'll see things, for example, enhanced system operations. And what it means to us is that right now, when we have an outage in an area, we get a phone call from a customer that we have, and that phone call is what triggered our outage management system to pick up an address that have a problem in our system. And as we get phone calls coming in, we aggregate the phone calls in an area that triggers a response from us saying that we're going to respond and take care of a grid issue that we have. The impact of a system that is a little bit more advanced in communications and identifying the areas where the outages happens is that it gives us a view of a system before even customer calls us, and that will prepare us, our crews, our supply chain, our deployment to make sure that we know exactly what the issue is, and we will deploy there time-wise faster and also pinpoint the issue. If the communication comes to us as saying that it's a transformer, that it's a problem, then we might have the crew respond to the area, do a temporary repair, while we have a transformer being shipped over to the site, and we do this change out very quickly so we don't have a longer outages. Those are the kind of things that we want to put into play to make sure that we don't just go and change meters and then not have the back office support functions kind of be in sync with the technology that we're putting out there. So this microgrid that we have, we're going to test all these things. We are going to have transformers. For example, this picture that you saw here, we do have a transformer communications that we will put on the transformer that will send a signal to us as soon as a problem happens with the transformer, that we know exactly on what pole and what transformer, what size that outage happened at. Right now, what we have is a patrol truck driving by and looking at lines down or transformers blown up or things that physically we can pinpoint where the problem is. This will give us an advantage of knowing that. So we're going to test this technology. We're also going to test the communications that we could have from the transformer to the pole top communication spots to the LA system to see that that channel is working properly, if it's a wireless channel, or if we have a fiber optics infrastructure in that area, which this microgrid has, that we could ride on our communication infrastructure. And then we have to evaluate which one is a better payoff for us, whether we do commercial wireless or do our fiber optics communications. And sometimes we might have a hybrid system for redundancy. Those are all areas that we need to get some answers with this deployment. And lastly, as we talk about this and getting guidance from our board as far as this, and I want to make sure that as we determine which part of a grid advancement we pick, it has a very, very clear business case as far as why we're investing, what are the benefits that we're going to get from it, and what kind of efficiencies we're going to get, whether it's an operational efficiency or customer type information that we deploy. And with everything that we have on our plate, with the integrated resource plan, with the renewables that we're going to put in place, as you heard, we have 2 large solar farms going into different injection point into our system. We want to have some enhanced method of forecasting the weather, for example, to get ready for curtailment or some sort of a system disturbance that we would see ahead of time in order for us to make sure we don't take our system down with these large swings of renewables coming online. So for us, smart grid is not a term that we use at a point in time. It's an evolution of our system as we see technology that's available and it benefits our ratepayers and our systems, and we can do this thing smartly. We can deploy the infrastructure smartly. We could layer this thing smartly. That's the approach that we would take for us to bring in these parts to you and also show you exactly how it fits this vision of advancing the system rather than having this massive meter change-outs or any of these massive things that we were finding out a lot of the utilities that are putting in that is not always through the system to make sure that they can handle that information, because we are going to have hundreds of millions of points of information coming in. How it's sorted out, tabulated, and an action attached to it is actually the harder part than just getting this technology to come in. So this is just an overview, but we're going to have more of these reports to you as we go forward with the investments and the contracts to kind of show you where it fits into the strategy, so we kind of have a guidance from you and move forward with that.
Questions?
Yeah, I have a question in your microgrid test area. Do you have any solar rooftop there that's interjecting into the system that you can see how that plays into it?
Well, so what we have is I didn't go into the technical details. So the power losses is a very large issue for us, because the way we synchronize our generation, transmission, and distribution, and then you're going to have distributed generation being injected into your system. As we do that, we might have some inefficiencies being built there. What we're going to do here is we have some solar installation in here, and we're going to model the system to see how those things affect our system and what kind of tools do we need when we have thousands of these installations in our system. How is that tool going to help us make sure we fine-tune our system? So that's going to be part of the report that we will get to you as far as what we learned from this micro city.
Thank you very much for the report. There are some real benefits to moving in this direction. I recall that you installed some advanced technology on our DC lines coming in from Delta, and we improved the efficiency of the transmission. And correspondingly, the sort of a smarter technology used in our distribution system might also save us some efficiencies as well.
Yes, that is a huge benefit as we go forward with this, with the distributed generation and kind of synchronizing our distributed generation with our renewable generation and other traditional resources. It's going to be much more critical for us to get points in our system that gives us much better view of what's happening there, rather than taking the fact that losses are a natural way of running a grid. It's going to be a totally different grid than what we were used to. So we need to get ready with the tools to put in place to make sure we are kind of ahead of the curve.
And we don't want a new marketing slogan, not your mother's grid?
Almost.
You know, and we don't want to be disadvantaged if other utilities are moving ahead with this kind of a smart grid. So in your view, are there lessons to be gained from what Edison's doing,
Yes.
what PG&E has been doing?
We want to be a very good follower on this area. And we have found out that during stress points, where we have responses to outages, massive outages and things, if technology is deployed and the utility relies on that information, it's crucial that information is properly tabulated and deployed and communicated. Otherwise, like I said, we've seen some of the instances where this information kind of gets out of control, and the utility uses the effectiveness of responding and repairing the system. So if we're taking a step backward as we think we're advancing the technology, that's not where we want to be.
Good.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
Looks like there's more to come in the future.
More to come, and more presentation. We might even have routine status reports to you as we progress this.
Great, thank you. I think that's it. I think we're ready to go into closed session. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, sir. The board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote of or abstention of every member thereon.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. Let's do the closed session here. Take about a 5 or 10 minute break. So we won't all jump up at the same time. No.